Okay, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Smudcast number 569. Why aim down sights is a bad mechanic. Oh boy, it's been a while since I've talked about this. This is from the ShreddedNerd. It came out of April of this year, has almost 320,000 views. And if you guys haven't heard about this idea, I believe the concept is using the iron sights or the standard way someone would look down a gun without a scope, and allows you to increase your accuracy with said weapon so that you could aim as if you were simulating that holding a gun with your hands. That's the initial concept. Now, other games never did this back in the past. In the 90s, for example, you didn't have a constantly shifting reticule, meaning your aim was already a point on the screen. Everything was firing from the hip, and it was always as accurate as your reticule. So if you played Doom, if you played Quake back in the day, that was it. There was no spread. You fired a rocket, it always went at the same spot. You fired the railgun, that was like the quintessential sniper rifle in Quake. Everything was exact. You didn't have to worry about getting really close with your scope because everything was based off like say the railgun. You would just use a tighter mouse control, so you would decrease the sensitivity of your mouse to get that accuracy as opposed to zooming in, because there was no scope as far as I recall. So fun times in the old age of gaming, of FPSs in the 90s. But we will see. What is the bad thing about iron sights? Or maybe he talks about scoping or using scopes as well. I don't know. Interesting. This is, I think, Destiny 2 we're looking at, screen cap. And it seems like a totally cool way to use a gun in a game. Right mouse click, aim, fire. But anyway, 20 minutes. Shouldn't take too long. Well, let's get going.
You can tell Destiny 2 because of the awful color choice.
Yeah, you can tell it's Destiny 2 because of the colors, yeah.
Aim down sights is a bad feature in first-person shooters. It's become fairly ubiquitous now, and I think that's certainly for the worse. Let me explain why. First of all, let us define what aim down sights means. This is also known as scoping, iron sights, or zoom. Basically, it's the feature common in most modern first-person shooter games where your FOV narrows, your weapon is centered on the screen, and you look down the sights of the gun. Typically, the gun will obscure a large part of the screen. Other features of ADS typically include increased accuracy.
He just showed Payday 2 in which the gun centers on the middle of your screen and does not cover up your face.
I don't see what the issue is because it is within the genre. Like first-person shooters, you're supposed to be from that perspective. So you expect a little bit of overlap when you're aiming with the gun, or you're blocking with a shield, or you're doing whatever with whatever melee or ranged weapon you've got. So I want to know what the problem is, and he's probably going to get to it very quickly because he doesn't like it. So,
which consequently results in decreased accuracy when not using ADS. It can also mean
that's completely believable, because if you're not aiming with the gun, you're not going to get an accurate shot. It's like firing from the hip is not accurate. That's true. That's why firing with the rifle is more accurate than firing with a pistol. You have this line going through the length of the barrel of the gun where you can guess, oh, this is exactly where I'm going to shoot, exactly where my target is, as opposed to having a pistol, which is not as long a line, and your brain can't make that guesswork. So I don't know if that is any different from aiming from the hip. I never aimed from the hip with a pistol before. It seems kind of dangerous. So this seems kind of natural and a normal evolution of the FPS genre, but okay.
In that case, I can fill in the information gap there. You shouldn't aim at the hip. Your body is not made to take the recoil of any gun that's above 9mm at the hip.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You're gonna be breaking your wrist the moment you go above a 9mm. Hell, I've seen some 9mm that give you a proper kick.
I've heard of, if you ever watch those YouTube channels where they bring in specialists who are ex-military, and there are many times where they spray, where they're not aiming down the sight, but they already have tracer rounds, they have laser sights, they have some other method to know that they don't need to aim, they just need to pull the trigger and get off 3 rounds, and they're going to kill whatever's in front of them, twice over at least. So there's reasons when to do it and when not to. We're talking about like anti-infantry weapons, like the big machine gun style full auto. So it's not like they're like taking like pop shots from a distance. They're like, no, this guy's like 20, 30 yards. I'm gonna
praying and praying.
Yeah, he's gonna get holes in him no matter what.
Decreased recoil and can include reduced bullet spread. It can often trigger a stronger aim assist, like your sights are snapping to a target. It often removes HUD elements and covers a large portion of your view model with the weapon's sights. It often involves a flinch feature, where your aim is knocked slightly off center when damage is received, particularly from an enemy player. The feeling ADS is supposed to provide is pretty obvious. It provides some sense of immersion by adding a realistic element into the game. It simulates at a very high level the sensation of aiming a weapon. Why is this feature that makes you stick your hands right?
I have flashbacks from YouTuber voice. This is video essayist voice.
It's close, yeah.
The inflection is randomly going up at there is some rule as to where you go up with the voice, but I haven't trained that. I don't intend to, but this is what that is. It's a little bit lower than the more extreme ones, but it's absolutely insane.
Okay,
it's meant to give you a more realistic feeling, because you know what happens when you look down sights. You have the sights in your sight.
Oh my god.
I mean, I have mostly fired rifle at like 25 and 50 meter ranges. I would never hit my shots if I didn't aim down to sights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The idea is you take away your attention from the world around you and you focus on the thing that's right in front of you.
Yeah, I don't see the issue here. Increasing immersion is a good thing, for one. And the other part is every weapon you have, you learn which pixel on the bloody screen is where your shots are going to go.
Yeah, and there's different techniques I've noticed. How to hold a gun. There's different techniques that I've noticed in games, even in this game right here. I don't know what it's called, but they have that sort of cross where they hold it at a 45 and they keep their head at the other 45, and they have it's apparently more accurate in a realistic sense. I don't know how it works in the game, if it's any different than normal looking down sights, but I've seen that in people who work with guns and are, I wouldn't say what's not speed draw guys, but the guys who are good with long distance shots. They say there's all these different techniques of holding a pistol to make it more accurate, to make it more natural, to deal with recoil, and that's one of them. I don't remember the technique, what it's called though, the stance. Anyway, but this game seems to have it, which is good.
Otherwise, best crosshair is either a dot or nothing, or a very big circle for certain weapons. I was surprisingly good with a big circle, but I did prefer the dot. But anything else, when you have sights, they're basically just a fancier crosshair. That's all.
Right.
I don't know what this guy's problem is here.
Also,
If anyone who knows guns, can you tell me the stances? Like, I know there's dumb ways of holding, like the teacup way. Like that's not proper. But tell me if you guys know the proper stances of how to hold a gun, because there's lots.
I have no idea of how to hold any gun. I'm German.
Sure thing. Okay, here's Vladimir Dragunov. Thank you, sir. As an owner of a few real guns, how the redacted do you think I'm supposed to aim? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I think part of this video essayist voice is that you phrase everything a little bit surprised and like a question, as if breathing has suddenly become an epiphany to you.
Oh, yeah. This is good. Another one from Vladimir. Also, of course, this guy is an Aussie. Is he? I have no idea. Probably never, ever seen a real gun in person. If you guys don't know, Australia has a ban on, I think, guns in general. So
It's a prison camp. Of course it has banned guns.
yeah, Australia is very comparable to Canada in many ways and also not in many ways. Kind of opposites here and there. But economically, we're pretty close. So anyway, we got to keep getting these arguments this guy's going to show us. Here we go.
Before we continue, I would like to go back just a bit because it seems like he changed his entire point in the last 4 seconds. Oh, that was a bit too far. There we go. Let's see if I heard this correct.
Aiming a weapon. Why is this feature that makes you stick your hands right in your face and makes me want to stick my hands into a blender so popular?
So that's exactly what I feel. He states that this is supposed to recreate the feeling of actually aiming a weapon, and then immediately asks why, with a negative connotation, why it's so popular.
Everyone's like, it's very realistic. It has worked in the past. It's a natural evolution of the genre. I don't get the problem. Like, remember when you played Doom for the first time and you had the rocket launcher directly in front of your gut? It just seemed really silly that you were firing an RPG or whatever from your stomach. It just did not look or feel proper, but you didn't care. It was fun to play. And there's even a mod. I remember like a month or two later, there was a mod in the 90s to put the rocket launcher graphic on the right side of your screen so it felt like you actually were carrying a rocket. Anyway.
Another part is that what he's likely going to completely dismiss is the fact that part of aiming down sights is that, as you mentioned earlier, Smud, it eliminates the world around you. So that, and I'm thinking mostly in tactical shooter terms here, when you have two people aiming down sights, looking in each other's direction, and you're reaching across the screen, that's probably the most tense moment you're ever going to get in a match, like from game to game, is when two people are aiming down sights trying to get the upper hand on the other.
Yeah, it's very similar to fighting one-on-one, let's say in a boxing match where you put your hands in front of your body, or fighting against multiple assailants where if you focus only in front of you, you're going to get hit in the back of the head or the side. So there's reasons why we use certain tactics when holding weapons or defending or attacking. It's kind of natural. So maybe he's going to be arguing about the reticule change, because he just mentioned it in the start, where if you aim, you get a more focused, more accurate target. So it's like, yeah, but that's usually a good thing. So who knows?
He's probably going to complain about FOV.
All right. So one more from Vladimir. Like, there's a reason we develop close to mid-range optical sights, from red dots to holos to ACOGs, because they're a step up from iron sights. Yeah, there's all kinds of reasons to do this, and there's all kinds of reasons why sharpshooters prefer certain kinds of sights for certain kinds of competitions. And this is actually I think it's an Olympic event. There's a series of, is it machine pistol? I can't remember the exact Olympic term, because there's all these different technical terms for guns. And I think it's machine pistol, and there's like machine pistol 50 yards, machine pistol 100 yards. There's all these ratings for what kind of shooter you are, and what kind of gun you could bring to that event. Anyway, let's see why this is bad or not fun in gaming.
How did it become ubiquitous? Well, like I said, immersion. It's realistic. I do understand how making typically gamey elements like crosshairs and aiming into an actual part of the game world, into an animation, can remove barriers between the player and the world they inhabit in the game. But
That was not a sentence. He's just mid-sentence changing the sentence into another sentence.
Right. Well,
have you written that?
Well, in this case, he's jumping between one game with a with a machine pistol, and then all of a sudden we're jumping to Destiny 2, which is like a plasma semi-auto thing. I can't remember what this is called. So I don't know. I think futuristic guns, you could do whatever you want, but you still have to bring it down to reality. That's why having a reticule or a sight kind of makes some sense. So, like, what would he rather have is what I want to know. I want to know his solution to not liking this idea. So I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah, I would bet that his complaint is just that the gun is obscuring so much of the screen and that it's just moving in front of the action of the game.
You know what? That could just be a purely cosmetic thing. Whereas imagine if you hit the right trigger in this freeze frame, and all you do, instead of we actually see the animation of the gun going up to the center of the screen, we just see the reticule getting smaller. Like that would be a purely cosmetic thing, and he might be even happier because then you could still see your gun, and imagine that you're firing it with your head slanted, looking down the sight as you aim. Maybe.
Yeah. Also, I haven't played this game, but the UI looks like it's the console version that's streamed to PC because it's so far in the frame.
Yeah, it looks like a PC. I have it on PC.
It looks like there's a lot of overscan here, so that's probably the console version.
Maybe. Okay.
Games are full of unrealistic concessions. Game design is fundamentally meant to be fun and compelling, and developers ought to add a feature to their game if it unanimously improves the experience.
Okay, but this is a good point because games should be fun and compelling, I agree, but people like guns. People like using guns, they like reloading guns, and they like seeing the animation and the skill involved of when to reload, how to aim, when to fire, when to jump, when to not fire. Like, this is part of the fun.
So if this is the standard video that I expect, then he's now going to try to make us believe or not just convince, but probably demand that his subjective issue with this should be had by everyone.
Maybe. I don't know.
So that it will be changed and he won't need mods or anything.
The thing is, though, if someone were to make a game that had none of these features, people would feel kind of ripped off because we've had these features for a decade, or at least a decade. And it'd be like, why are we going backwards? Why are we going back to the 90s? Like, what's the...
Yeah, because we're 80s rather. We're then going into abstract shooters.
Right.
Maybe what he wants is what is these even called? Shoot 'em ups? No, these fixed screens or side screens where enemies pop up and you click on them. Maybe that's what he wants.
Okay.
Oh, you're thinking of arcade shooters.
I'm thinking of Morhun.
Okay.
But yeah, Ramirez says, let's just hear him out. It's been 2 minutes and 3 seconds. He still hasn't made a point yet.
Okay.
Well, he has to fill 20.
No matter how unrealistic. So far, I've never met a person in real life who can pause and see menus. And when people did try to give themselves a real life HUD, we bullied them for it. Hard. Well, ADS took over quite slowly. Technically, the first...
What is he talking about?
I don't know.
Okay, he's saying that aiming down sights is realistic, but making concessions for sake of avoiding realism is something developers have done in the past. And uses the example of people trying to do HUDs in real life and being mocked for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but using iron sights is not using an HUD.
But even then,
opposite.
I know plenty of people who would love to have Google Glass Black, even though it was canceled. They loved it. So this is the same argument with, well, why didn't Microsoft make an iPad? It's like there wasn't enough demand. It's like, well, now we have iPads. Now there is demand. Now they're playing catch up because someone said, this is dumb. I don't like Google Glass. And they stopped the project. Lots of people want Google Glass. They want freaking plastic in their eyes as a computer if they could. They could walk around.
Yeah, Elon is going to do that, and then everyone will play catch up with him.
Yeah, well,
we'll have the whole game over again.
That's a whole other thing, yeah. So,
biggest issue I have with the video so far is that he's very disingenuous when it comes to his point making, I guess.
He's getting there. Slowly, he's getting there. He's just showing a lot of hatred for the thing, which is fine, but you have to get to what's the problem and why.
Exactly, it's like he is front-loading his opinion before he's established the ground rules.
Yeah.
And then immediately goes for the...
Yeah, we're not talking Predator triple dot thingy here. That's something else.
I forgot to mention that his upvotes and downvotes are almost even. It's 9.8 thousand upvotes and 9.9 thousand downvotes. So, Interesting. Just got a $10. Thank you from Vladimir. Thank you, sir. And what about the games that are meant to be realistic, like Arma, Squad, Insurgency, Rising Storm, Verdun? It would be extremely odd if you couldn't aim down your sights. I think so. I think if you have a weapon, whether it's a sword or a shield or a gun, you have to use it properly the way you expect it to be used. You can't just fire from the hip because gun, because you're such an awesome character in the story. I wanted to see the person use it properly. I want to see it being used the way I expect it to be used.
Also,
you don't like. It would be hilarious if you equipped a gun and used it as a melee weapon. Like they'd be like, "What the hell? What's going?" And you throw
you mean
swords.
like in Borderlands 2?
Well, Borderlands is kind of funny because some guns are designed to be bombs. So it's
no, I'm just. The melee had zero feedback. I felt like I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
Apparently, I was doing the most damage in the group. I was told that, but it felt like I was just running around, hitting at the air. It's like, what am I doing? I feel useless. Because you need to design that properly. If you put some wacky mechanic into your game as something that is allegedly viable because you put an entire skill tree about it, it should feel like you're doing something.
Have you guys played God Hand?
I have not played God Hand.
I've seen it though.
There is a rocket launcher you get in the game, and the character looks at it and grows a big ass grin, and then he immediately starts using it as a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that's expected, yeah.
But yeah, on the topic of sites, I assume we go into the super chats, is that in games like Rainbow Six Siege, there is a big meta for just what sites you're using. Like holosites and tend to be very popular almost unanimously in the community because the iron sights can be so hit and miss on the actual gun. Meanwhile, laser sights, the big laser that shows where you are looked down upon because in a strategic match, if your opponent knows where you're aiming, they can trace the laser back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is a level of strategy that is involved when you when you focus on which sites you decide to put in your gun.
Can some gun nut please explain to me why anyone would put a green laser pointer on his gun?
Well, I do remember was it Rainbow Six when they came out with an update for, was it the Guile suit? And there was a new sniper rifle, but the sniper rifle was silver or something. So whenever you get a new update to the game, you want to try out the new stuff. So I remember my buddy was telling me, like he was playing without the new gear, without the new suit, and all he saw was a bunch of bushes running around with this silver stick in their heads. He was just sniping them. So it's kind of funny how these updates work, but or is it called a ghillie suit? I can't remember what the name is. So yeah, it's you want to try something new, you want to try something fun. Does it work? Does it not work? It's the same with anything in real life. If it works, you use the same technique. It doesn't matter how you hold your gun. If it works for you, that's how it works. So trying to replicate that is difficult in a simulation like a game, but you should still go to the standard that everyone else is using. You shouldn't just I'll hold the gun on my head, and you know, I could see down the barrel of the gun from the bottom. It's like, no, that's kind of stupid. Anyway, Copper Owl, hey sir, how's it going? As a gun hobbyist inventor, holy shit, you invent guns? The sights depend on the game. I hate FNV sights, but I like Tarkov sights. What I hate is lack of select fire in games. Ah, I see what you mean, because in the military they have a selector for single, not semi-auto, single, 3-burst, and auto, I believe. So, yeah, that's the joys of the
safety.
military.
Never forget safety. Also, FNV is probably referring to Fallout New Vegas.
Oh, I kind of like Fallout New Vegas sites. It's all old and weird and this. Well, compared to Fallout 4, which is pipe weapons,
Garbage.
I don't like it as much. Yeah, it's a bit different. More from Vladimir Dragunov. I'm legitimately starting to think this Bredacted doesn't know what the sights are there for. How gun work? How shoot? What bullet? Wisp, usually the laser sight doesn't have a long beam, but most of the time it's for use with night vision goggles where you would see the beam. Really?
Yeah, but that's my question. Green laser pointers are visible without visual aids because our retina is made for recognizing green, and so we can see that. That's what that's why they're also called sky pointers. And when you go out onto the hill or the mountain with your astronomy class, and your professor is pointing at the stars with his green laser pointer so that you can see where he's bloody pointing his finger. That's what I mean. And I don't understand why these things are put on guns. Maybe that's just for movie effects of, oh, look, intimidating.
Oh, God.
No, it's to know exactly where your gun is aimed at. You can have a rough idea, but if you want especially in, as you mentioned with night vision, if you're using that while it's in night vision, that's probably because you have your gun raised, but you don't have the time required to actually aim that sight to make sure your gun is exactly where you need it to be.
Okay. And we're not going to get to talk about tracer rounds or flares.
Oh, please, no.
Yeah. Too complicated. Anyway, keep on going.
FPS games had a perspective similar to what we know as ADS, where you're looking down the sights of your gun. I mean, it makes sense not having your arms sprout from the sides of your head where your ears should be. But in Doom, it was more like a phallus pointing out. Truly hellish.
What?
As games moved into full
The hell is wrong
3D
with
with
you?
games like Quake
No,
2,
The hell is wrong with you? Just there's the center pixel where all the guns point at, where all the guns shoot, and all you have is an animation in the front. It has not much to do with each other.
Is this like the Maggie May Fish interpretation of video games that because it's a gun, it's a phallic image?
No, the phallic is a fucking Quake meme where the rocket is intentionally formed like a cock.
Oh.
The joke was
I don't
made
know.
way back in the 90s.
Okay.
All right. Whatever.
I lack that sort of funny bone. I always miss those jokes.
It looks like a penis. Like, okay.
Really?
Gotta remember who were designing these games. They were glorified man-children. God bless them for it.
I can only imagine that shit is made up by people who wanted to censor these games.
Anyway. Fine. It's a joke. Let's just go.
And then maybe the fans ran with it. Or I don't bloody know.
the perspective permanently changed. Now your gun is mounted on your right shoulder. Now, let's say you want to get creative and introduce new features to this burgeoning genre of game. What's the best place to draw ideas from? Well, real life, of course. And many real-life guns have scopes and iron sights. Games began to introduce scopes. The Team Fortress Quake mod introduced the sniper rifle, a real-life weapon noticeably lacking from earlier shooters. GoldenEye 64 and Half-Life were notable for including a zoom feature for certain weapons to allow you to engage enemies from a distance.
Yeah, was great.
LucasArts Outlaws from 1997 had
Wait. That was an incredibly dumb sentence. We're talking about shooters, and you tell us that there's an extra feature to zoom in to engage enemies from a distance with your rifle. What have you done before? What the hell are you talking about?
This is.
Have you proofread this? Have you read this draft that you're reading to us?
I have a sniper rifle. I'm just gonna shoot from the hip. It's like, what? Why?
God, this is a bloody first draft.
It's like a soldier. Here's your 50 caliber rifle. Just just lob some rounds. Don't aim. Just fire in the general direction. Waste these giant rounds. Yeah, sure. $2 a pop, whatever there.
actual scope attached to your gun. This scope worked like real scopes, zooming in on the area strictly within the bounds of the scope. This is most common today in simulation shooters, but is otherwise disregarded. This is due to the performance toll it has. You effectively need to render the world twice, one at the regular FOV, and one to be displayed within the bounds of the scope at a...
That's not a technical problem, even back in the day. What are you talking about? That is basic rendering of a viewport in 3D. That's not... You could have like 20 of those on the screen. You wouldn't do that, but you can. It's not a technical problem, what I'm saying.
Much tighter FOV. Scopes were beginning to become a common feature in FPS games. Developers added different view model and HUD adjustments to accompany the zooming. In most games, scoping was just a matter of tightening FOV. By 2001, in Halo, your scope removed some HUD elements, as well as adding a translucent circular overlay, as if you were using...
Wait, are you telling me that GoldenEye didn't do that? Didn't remove HUD? Can we go back to that?
Okay.
It's a matter of tightening FOV. By 2001,
GoldenEye.
In 1997, guns have scopes, and Iron and Half-Life were notable for including a zoom feature for certain weapons.
Well, to be fair, it doesn't remove HUD elements, it just zooms in the screen.
Yeah, I see that. I remember it's a Rareware game, and Rareware was really good with UI. They understood the point of it, and that you should have as few UI elements on screen as possible. So that explains that.
To allow you to engage enemies from a distance.
Even here in Half-Life Source, or just Half-Life, you can see the HUD elements don't disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And HUD adjustments to accompany the zooming. In most games, scoping was just a matter of tightening FOV. By 2001, in Halo, your scope removed some HUD elements, as well as adding a translucent circular...
Does it though? I'm looking at the screen. What HUD elements does it remove?
I don't know, we can go back a little.
In most games, scoping was well as adding a translucent... In most games, scoping was just a matter of tightening FOV. By 2001...
Alright, so health up there, ammo up in the corner, and
a radar in the bottom left.
In Halo, your scope removed some HUD elements.
It's the same.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Wait, is he...
It's more.
Oh no.
It's more because it shows the zoom level.
What if what he's referring to is that it removes the element of the gun itself, and that's why he's counting as
the HUD?
The HUD.
He thinks the gun is the HUD.
The gun is not the HUD.
That's the only thing that's being removed when he zooms in.
Ah!
Oh dear. If this all this is, it's purely cosmetic, as I mentioned before.
Okay. And it fits into my guesstimate as to what his problem would be. He is mistaking the gun model for part of the UI.
Okay, all right.
Well as adding a translucent circular overlay, as if you were using the scope of the pistol. This obscured parts of your field of vision. ADS truly came into being as a feature in America's Army from 2002. America's Army was a simulation game / recruitment tool that was developed with the express intent of recreating modern warfare in a realistic fashion. This basically meant every weapon had to be aimed to be accurate and reduce recoil. This seems perfectly reasonable in a game aimed at realism and tactics. It was a tactical choice you make as the player. If you want to hit a shot accurately, you need to trade your mobility. Running and gunning is something that will get you killed in a real battle. You are not a one-man army. You need to be covered by your squad mates to make any movement.
Oh, the fucking
ADS
strobe
would
lights
also
on.
later feature in games such as Viet Cong. It was slowly gaining acceptance as a feature in games based on modern warfare. It truly came into its own in 2003 with Call of Duty. This is the game that will carry this feature into relevance alongside its own success. Call of Duty, unlike games such as America's Army, was not primarily intended as a tactical simulation. It was a cinematic game, inspired by movies such as Saving Private Ryan, providing a gritty, realistic vision of World War II, but with more of a dramatized edge. ADS seems like a perfect feature to make this game feel realistic and immersive.
Yes, and it's a tool that can be used for a lot of games to make the guns feel more quote unquote realistic and more importantly authentic.
I'm not seeing a problem when you're talking about a game that sort of looks at the past and uses real weapons and real scenarios, trying to be realistic.
So he wants this feature in realistic games, but not in sci-fi games? Is that it?
I don't. He said the simulation was okay, so that's fair. But what's wrong with this? I don't see the problem.
He's probably going to conclude that it's in games he doesn't want them to be in, just like Razorfist's usual point is that aim down sight should not be a thing that's in the games that I like.
Is this the argument that, horror movies aren't scary to me, therefore they're not horror movies?
Welcome to a narcissistic argument.
I don't know. I'm still trying to get to his point here. We're like, he doesn't like it. We don't know why yet. So, anyway.
To feel like a soldier on the ground in this, albeit dramatized, setting. You could even argue it was still then a tactical decision, although your squad mates were very scripted. This was the most significant jump of the ADS feature coming out of a purely simulation setting. ADS was still not the norm. It was a feature in every COD game, but Call of Duty was not yet the standard. Halo and its method of scoping was the norm until basically 2009. In Halo, naturally, you were a super soldier and did not have to slow down at all to aim. You didn't have an animation to zoom either. Your helmet just connected to the gun or something. It was
But it also had the flinch feature, which is unlike almost every other FPS games at the time, even to this day, where if you zoom in Halo and you get shot or just hit, you're gonna get pulled out of the zoom.
I'm pretty sure there was a zoom feature in Unreal Tournament.
I'm trying to remember. There was the sniper rifle in 2K4?
Yeah. The sniper rifle was an Unreal Tournament already.
Yeah, I just never...
And it did not slow you down as far as I remember.
Yeah, I don't remember programming with it, though. It was always just the standard machine, not machine pistol, the machine gun, and the energy, what was it called? The energy gun in 2K3.
The
crazy
blah rifle.
It was that crazy gel gun that stuck to the walls. And
The biogun.
biogun, there you go.
Bloody disgusting thing.
Yeah,
God, a bloody cheesy weapon.
it was fun to code because you made little objects that stuck to things and you could change them around and make them bigger and explode. It's kind of cool. Anyway.
certainly empowering. Recoil was independent of your movement and you did not flinch at all when shot. Instead, you would simply be removed from scope. You had a
That's still flinching, you disingenuous waffle.
What is flinching?
Flinching is when your character goes
Yeah, you get hit.
and pulls back from the scope.
Oh, that tons of games had that before this.
Yeah, it's kind of like when someone beats you over the head with a stick and you're looking in the 90-degree opposite direction, your body's going to react.
I'm sorry I can't give you a proper example, but I'm pretty sure games had that before because my shooter times ended long before this game came out.
Right.
A descoping mechanic to avoid ranged weapons being too powerful. Halo 3 finally slid below Modern Warfare 2 in 2009 at the very end of its life cycle, before promptly sliding down into the gutter. With that, Call of Duty took the position.
What is that supposed to mean?
I don't know. He's saying it wasn't as popular.
Slides down into the gutter. What?
Was stopped being played. I don't know.
This is what I mean is that I find his argument. If he has sound arguments, that's good. But when he presents them like this,
there's a bit of an emotional connection. He's like, dude, just say people weren't playing it anymore.
I still don't know what his problem is.
I know.
Why? No. His problem is that there's a weapon on the screen. And it's moving, and it's moving to the center of the screen,
something like that, yeah.
And obscuring his vision.
I don't know.
That's what I can make out. But he's not telling me why that is a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Position of top shooter, and with it, aim down sights became the standard. Now, let's look at aim down sights in Call of Duty. I think it's fair to say that it isn't a tactical choice. Team play, much like having a father or not saying racial slurs, is an alien concept to Call of Duty players. Call of Duty is widely regarded as a run and gun game focused on speed, while ADS as a mechanic seems firmly in opposition to this principle.
No. Call of Duty, in any gunfight you'll see on Call of Duty, the person in question will be using the aim down sights to get a better look at the person they're shooting at, especially in close quarters.
Is he implying everyone who plays Call of Duty naturally just fires from the hip?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the meme of snipers in Call of Duty and quickscoping never became a thing, right?
Yeah, and there's no such thing as quick as what is it? Quick scoping? What is the other one? No scoping.
No scoping. That's a big one. Everyone praises.
Yeah.
Because it's so fucking stupid to do.
Right. Okay. Well, he obviously has a bias towards these games. It's fine, but he's got to be more honest with us because I'm sort of losing him as he goes on. Here is Vladimir again. Hey, Vladimir. I want to see this guy's KD ratio, but perhaps it should be the ratio of his shots that hit. I don't know. I don't know how you're going to get too far in these games without aiming, so it's a weird thing to say. Copperal, thanks again. Razor Fist likes sights if used right. I agree. I think any game where once you have a weapon and you try using it, you don't like how it looks or feels, you don't like it. You want it to look, feel, and react the way you want it, you expect it to react. That's a good weapon or a good item. If it, the gun is like, shooting like the bio gun is like goes, shoots an arc. And you're like, oh, this kind of sucks. It's a situational weapon, right? You don't just have it all the time. So you need it around corners, you need it around walls so people can walk into things and hurts them. So there's lots of reasons why people like certain weapons. I remember playing Enemy Territory, Wolfenstein, and the engineer gets a grenade rifle, or a rifle where you attach a grenade to it, and you could have it bounce around walls. So if you're around a corner, you could ricochet your grenade, it could blow up in someone's face, they had no idea it was coming. Like stuff like that.
Also, me making fun of racism has more to do with the old man. What's the right term for it? It's more a joke about him being an old man than a genuine critique of him as a person. Back
in my day, first-person shooters didn't have variable reticules. Everything was point. There was no difference. Yeah.
I expect old wise men to have long grey beards.
Playing the original Doom or Doom 2 forever.
But Razor Fist will never have a wise beard.
Yeah, what's wrong? He can't grow a beard, doesn't like beards? I don't know. Who knows?
That's why he doesn't like beards, apparently.
Not everyone can grow a beard. That's true. Can't blame him for that.
I mean, just looking at him does surprise me that he can't grow a beard.
That's fine. Everyone's got their own thing.
While moving, your reticle expands significantly, and with it, your accuracy is reduced while recoil is increased. To shoot with any level of accuracy, you have to aim down sight, which slows your movement speed and narrows your FOV. In Call of Duty, ADS is essentially used as an auto-aim enable button. It
What?
That's, I guess, if you're on console.
That's a really weak argument. Auto aim is not. I mean, everyone who's an FPS who knows have seen auto aim from single player games. They just sort of like, that's cheap, that's cheating, that's not even fun. Challenging. It's not something you want to ever go for. To consider aiming down sights auto aim, I mean, they're two different things. And if he's characterizing as that, he is really strong. He's really trying to paint aiming with a gun as somehow this horrible concept, because you win fights by being accurate with your shots.
I mean, he's using Modern Warfare 1 or Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare as a reference point. A game that is famous for being one of the games that has a higher time to kill than any of the other Call of Duty games, because there's a lot less mobility options. There's a lot less damage going around outside of maybe the noob tube.
This is becoming more and more like he's just bitching that he can't win games without aiming. It's becoming more and more like that.
What?
I haven't heard an argument yet why it's bad.
Also, the argument of aiming down sights becomes an auto aim. My guy, they removed the auto aim pistol that was awful in Titanfall because it was an auto aim gun.
Oh god, yeah, that was ridiculous. The smart gun?
Yes, my favorite gun in the game. It is so bad, but it is so funny to use. You just look at somebody for like 5 seconds and then instant kill them.
Yeah, it's like, what's the point of this?
It makes people feel bad when they get killed by it because, oh, it instantly killed me.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you walk up with a shotgun on somebody, that's gonna be instant kill anyways.
Yeah, I know. I remember seeing videos of that. I was laughing. This is a thing. Oh my god.
Oh, the best part was in Titanfall 2. You can get a special drop that is just a smart pistol with an upgraded zoom. So it snaps on enemies even faster.
It has a zoom. It has a lens. You can kill people instantly. Oh, that's so cheap. Good lord. Oh.
Basically prompted the game to snap onto the enemy. In fact, the tutorial directly hints this idea. It is a mental trigger that the fight has commenced. It feels good when the aim assist system is in line with the player expectations, that it kicks in the moment the player wishes to commence combat by using ADS. This is why it's so easy to tell when somebody is a COD player. They have a Pavlovian response in every game to aim down sights as soon as they enter a gun battle. It produces frustration when they want to do something they're so conditioned to doing just to have it not behave the way they expect.
Yeah,
Playtest.
That's fine. That's normal.
How did this become a time to shit on COD players video?
Well, it's not even that. It's just like when you naturally have a gun or a weapon or any tool, you don't just willy-nilly it using your tool. It's like that's saying, well, why can't I win a boxing match by just throwing haymakers all the time? It's like, I don't know. It's a whole art style where you have to dodge and weave and plant, and you have to have a certain aim when you swing your arms around.
It's like saying COD World of War imbued people with the idea that when you have a bayonet on a gun, that means that when you melee, it should use the bayonet as a melee point. And that's the awful conditioning, and people get frustrated
Well,
when
that's
they don't do that.
Yeah, that's the one sort of thing, because it's melee range. If you're that close, like, it's so deadly because you don't have a gun that instant killing with a melee weapon should pretty much kill the guy, because it's so impractical to just have the guy near you while you stab him repeatedly, hoping he dies soon. So that's the kind of trade-off in gaming you make, is that if you can get close to a guy and you don't have a gun, your melee attack should like insta kill him. That's kind of the idea.
But the argument is that Call of Duty has trained people to, when they see gun, they should be able to aim down sights. The same argument can be made for bayonet weapons. You see bayonet on weapon, that should be the actual thing that does the melee attack. You shouldn't pull out a knife on the side of your hip. Get what I mean?
Yeah, I don't see it's like, oh, people were conditioned to play this way. It's like, yeah, that's how people with guns operate. That's how people who've played FPSs in the past 15 years operate. I don't see why that's a bad thing. And your expectations of having a gun with a sight should be used. Like, that's kind of like, I'm going to use, my fist in a boxing match as opposed to my shoulder or my forearm to hit the guy with.
Your feet.
Or yeah, you have your fists in front of your face and you hit the trigger button and you start kicking the guy. You're like, what? What's going on? So, anyway.
It's a very strange argument.
Yeah. Vladimir again. Show us on the doll where ADS touched you. I don't know what he's getting at here, aside from just bitching about it.
Again, it sounds like somebody aimed into his DMs and complained about the fact that you can't aim down sights in Doom from 1990.
I don't know, yeah.
Across the industry naturally picked this up over years of COD's market success. This brings up the question of multitasking, or rather, why modern FPS fans absolutely hate multitasking. Thinking about multiple tasks at once can be very challenging and requires a lot of mental energy that a casual game may not want to occupy.
Okay, calm down, my guy. You're holding the right trigger and you're firing with the left. You're not 40 or 50 years old.
Yeah,
you're not my dad, okay?
I remember
it's not that hard.
Playing Battlefield 1942 with a few guys after school, and it was like 2-on-2 or whatever it was. And this one guy, the way he would fight is open field, whatever, and you would hold control, which is to go on one knee, I think, to go down, and he'd aim down his sights, and he'd always shoot us because he had better aim. And he did that. He'd plant himself down, and he'd get back up and walk down and up and down. And that was his thing. It's like, hey, that's pretty smart. He's constantly moving, but whenever he aims, he stops, hits the ground, right trigger, aims, and fires really quickly. And that's an extra step involved to get better aim. Your reticule goes smaller and smaller. And that's good. So he's doing multiple things. He's not just using his right mouse click. He's using his left hand to aim better. So I don't know if that's considered multitasking, since the task is the same, but he's doing more steps to win the game, which is what you're supposed to do in these games. So if I could do more with my body to get better aim or to get to the position I want, that's called skill. That's called using all my faculties. So I don't see why that's a problem.
It's just such an odd point. Is that, aiming down sights is multitasking. My guy, have you ever just opened up a MOBA?
It's too hard.
What multitasking looks like?
I can't do it. It's too many buttons. It's like, really? the right mouse button is too hard to hold.
You want to keep track of your unreliable gold and reliable gold whilst keeping an eye on the minion lanes and the tower health?
Oh God, MOBAs, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think of when I think of multitasking, or StarCraft, for that matter.
Oh, jeez.
Actual multitasking.
I don't think he could ever possibly watch a StarCraft game if he's complaining about aiming down sights as too difficult.
Thus, it is advantageous to isolate mechanics from each other, such that you do not have to think about them simultaneously.
Why?
What?
What's that supposed to mean?
What's wrong with having multiple mechanics that work in tandem? Like firing and aiming. What's wrong with that? Or firing and
It's
walking.
just shooting and shooting differently.
Or walking and reloading. Or walking and strafing. Or walking and going prone. What's...
Oh, is he arguing that it should be like the classic from TF2? That's a sniper rifle where when you start, you have to power it up to get its maximum damage, and it reduces your movement speed, but you can only do headshots while it's aimed down.
Oh.
Mean that the act of firing needs to be combined with the act of aiming down sights. That sounds like what he's trying to describe. Is that these need to be inherently tangled together.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I'm quite sure if you join the military, they will train you not to fire from the hip. It's kind of like you don't waste rounds. You don't aim at nothing. You have to know what you're shooting at. You can't just identify a moving target and think it's the enemy. You have to take your time. You have to go, what is that? Okay, it's an enemy. Fire away. In the way we trained you how to fire.
ADS serves the function of separating shooting and aim from movement. Sprint is a feature that serves a similar function. Sprint separates navigation across the map from every other action. Games that
How?
do not require the player to simultaneously...
It makes you go fast.
That's it. It makes you move faster. It doesn't separate me from firing. What is he talking about? How about sprinting and jumping? Isn't that two things at the same time? And pressing forward? And looking around with my mouse? You can do more than one thing at once, guys. It's not impossible. You kind of have to in these games. You can't just like do one thing and then do another thing.
Okay, what he might be talking about is that each button needs to do its own independent action and should not be reliant on the other. So
This is one of the problems I have with Mass Effect, where you can reload, but you can only walk when you reload. You can't like run and reload. You can't run and swap weapons very quickly. You have to stop and hit the R button, and then I can keep moving. I want it to be more dynamic because the action's pretty slow. But yeah, every button is the space bar. So running, you can't do that anymore when you reload.
running, commands, cover.
Yeah, jumping, it's all the same. It's all the space bar. Vladimir, one more time. Kind of wish Bears was here. No, he'd get crazy. Like, this guy's crazy. He's like, I hate this guy. The Copper Owl. Razor is in his 30s and grew a beard. All guns in my book are in real life or new. Like a suppressed 5.56 revolver carbine. I just wanted a Boba Fett-like rifle. Oh, okay. Fair enough. That's the joys of being in America, I guess. All right, 9 minutes in, almost halfway done. Still no real point he's made yet.
Think about their movement on multiple axes are often easier to pick up and have a lower barrier to entry for newer and lesser skilled players. Clearly demarcating movement and shooting creates a lower barrier to entry. Again, Call of Duty is often referred to as a run and gun game.
Well, please, my guy, calm down and just put your thoughts together. Stop jumping from game to game. Actually, elaborate on what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what he's trying to say. Running and gunning are two different things, yes.
Is he saying Instagib is hard, or is he saying Instagib is easy?
It's easier for people to get into because you could run and gun. Or something like that.
But the truth is, it's a run or gun game. In COD, you only have to worry about navigating the map quickly in the direction you're facing, aiming, or regular movement at any given time.
Oh, he finally made a point. Call of Duty is a run or gun.
You mean it's a cover shooter?
Not quite.
But in a way, you don't want to stand still in the middle of a field to shoot.
Yeah, I don't know what he's getting at here.
I don't know.
I mean,
In a game like, say, Doom, you have to be concerned about aiming and movement in any direction, in every gun battle, all simultaneously.
And play
This often
that.
involves skills that can be challenging for new players and put things like map knowledge to the test. You have to be aware of the rocks and cover around.
Okay, dude, then play those types of games, and not the types of games that you don't like.
Is this the Doom Ultimate is amazing and everything else sucks sort of argument?
I don't fucking know. Look, I don't like to play games that realistic shooters with normal ass realistic guns because I find them boring. I'm one of these douchebags that likes my green Spitfire plasma machine gun thing that shoots green bullshit all around. I like the sci-fi bullshit.
and I like the kind of stuff where I can look at a double-barrel shotgun, crack it open in a video game, and imagine actually doing that in real life.
Okay, have fun with that. Well, that's the reason why. Look, I don't play COD. I don't play Modern Warfare. I don't play any of these games because normal guns. And you should just go with the games that allow you the game, that give you the game mechanics that you enjoy to play, instead of complaining that all other games should be the way that you like it. Because that would be like me saying all games should have silly fantasy guns.
Right.
Silly fantasy sci-fi guns. Call of Duty should have a plasma machine gun. That's silly.
Yeah, the
You're
genre
silly.
should have its own setting with its own time frame that should make sense for whatever genre, your subgenre you're in, for storytelling. That's fine. Same with styles of game that aren't as popular anymore, like the 45-degree isometric perspective from D&D. We still have something like that, but not everyone likes that. So it's like, why would I suddenly want to turn that into a first-person shooter? Like, you wouldn't do that. So it's like, let the game be what it's trying to be. And if you don't like that, that's fine, but that doesn't make the game bad. That's just your reaction to it. And because of one mechanic, I'm assuming he doesn't like any of those styles of games. I'm assuming. I don't know.
Also, there's nothing wrong with looking at the kind of video games you like and sticking to them.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy what you like.
Even what isn't in your line of sight. There's a natural tendency among new players to look in the direction they're going, like when they're running for cover, when in fact it's always better to shoot at the enemy that's shooting at you while you're running into cover. Have you ever seen an old person playing a first-person shooter game? Or someone who's really young just on their first ever game? It is challenging to adapt to the use of both thumbsticks simultaneously, or keyboard and mouse. Now, why is ADS bad?
What the hell does that? God damn! If your argument relies on what if people 2 foot from the graves or children that just crawled out their mother's womb had to play the game?
Is he arguing it's hard? It involves skill and attention and hand-eye coordination? Really? Wow, video games. Woo.
Oh no! The horror. But okay, honest lol moment here. I don't like rhythm action games. Like, most of the time I don't like games like that where you need to have a rhythm down. Or stuff where it's really high momentum, such as, well, not really a rhythm action game, I guess, but Doom Eternal, where you need to have a certain beat down. I don't like games like that. Way too artistic for me. But there are a lot of people that fucking love those types of games where there's constantly something to think about. Constantly some way to improve your rotation and weaponry.
It's like those twitchy, high-octane, crazy shoot-'em-up games, yeah.
Yeah.
People love it.
That's just not a genre for me.
Exactly.
I like games like TF2, where it's very clear what everyone has and what it can do, and the skill level to do something exceptional, like rocket jumping, is really, really high. So it's unlikely for that to be a major problem for you.
All right, here's more Vladimir. Hey, how's it going? After seeing this video, the Aussies losing to emus makes more sense now.
I mean, the big truck loss did include the fact that the guy couldn't aim worth a damn on a moving platform to hit a bunch of emus.
Did they have guns trying to stop emus? Because I think they said they shot them and they kept coming at them.
Oh yeah, they had machine gun at one point on a moving car when the emus came over to the farms.
Oh,
And they kept driving after them. And the guy on the car reported that he hit like 5 emus, and none of them were killing shots. It took a dedicated army movement the following year to actually kill emus.
Wow,
And still, it didn't reduce the population adequately.
that's amazing. Anytime you guys want to hunt, go to Australia. You'll have plenty of opportunities.
Lewis light machine guns. That was it. Thank you, level.
All right, let's keep going.
Many games focus on player empowerment, the power fantasy. It's a common philosophical term you'll hear developers use to describe their approach to design, especially in first-person shooters.
I would prefer if you would just make a point instead of trying to go into philosophy all of a sudden.
Yeah, he is just jumping into ideas without breaking his previous ideas down into a conclusion. He's just sort of like, old people play games like this. Then there's player empowerment. You're like, what? What was your point? What are you getting at, sir? I don't know what the point of this video is yet. He's just saying, I don't like looking down guns because they aren't fun for me. It's like, okay, sure. Also, old people play video games. Okay.
Shooters. It's simple. Make the player feel powerful, like they're expressing their skills. Games should provide challenge commensurate with the player's skill, but they shouldn't challenge players 100% of the time. They should allow some moments for the player to express mastery over their environment. There are many ways developers can hope to achieve player empowerment. One direction I've seen many games going in over the past few years is by using speed, like a return to classic shooters. This is how they challenge players and ultimately make them feel powerful.
I don't remember speed being an element of classic shooters at all.
Really?
When was moving
going
really
back-
quickly an element of Doom or Return to Castle Wolfenstein or any of those like 16-bit era 90s first-person shoot? I don't remember any of speed being a factor.
I mean, I played through the first 2 Doom games relatively recently, as in last year, and you could have mistaken me for a turkey with how fast I was going in levels like Barrels of Fun. Like, speed is everything in certain levels of Doom, especially to avoid projectiles, but it was never really a reward or a sign of skill. If anything, the fact that you would take your time to think was often more of a showcase of your skill in Doom than anything.
Yeah, one of the elements of Doom was strafing, that you could dodge attacks as they were coming at you. That was part of the challenge. That's one of the game designs I think Carmack and Romero had. And if you don't have that, like they were playing other games like 10, 20 years later, and they were saying, well, where's the skill? Because you can't really dodge. You're just getting shot at all the time and hiding behind a wall. Like they were really concerned with like or Romero was concerned with level design and having cover and being able to have an open room. You can move between cover and dodge, and then finding a secret in the wall and getting a new weapon, stuff like that. Now it's a little different, but I don't know. It's different
But
game
at least
design,
he's
different era.
At least he's finally moving towards what sounds like a point. He's finally reaching the level of, now they're entering my domain kind of stuff.
Yeah, back in the day, we used to run around really quickly. Like, okay, sure.
And now they're going back to going really fast, and they've included aim down slice, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
by making the player play faster. Look at games like Titanfall or Doom Eternal. They have a certain level of spectacle as a result of their speed. This helps the player power fantasy. The thing is, many developers fail to understand how to make their games actually fast. All too often, devs will mistake in-game movement speed for actual speed of the game. Here's the thing.
Hey, McFly. Realistic games aren't super fast zooming around at the speed of sound.
Does he mean like the dash is not a good design concept, or double jumping is too fast for you? Like, what does he mean?
This guy doesn't understand what a realistic game requires and how it's different from fast sci-fi fun.
I think what he's trying to say is that people, or developers, ominous term as it is, use actual movement speed and think that's it, now it's a fast game. Which I'd argue, yes. Actual movement speed ties into how fast you're going to be playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the game called? There's a really neat game made by the people that made Metal Gear Rising Adventures.
Really?
Yeah, where it's like you can slow down time, but most of the game is just about being super cool and going really fast.
It's not super hot, is it?
Not super hot, no.
Okay.
I'll report back when I remember it, because I think it's a very relevant comparison.
Okay. I want to see what he's getting with this, because this might have some semblance of a point.
Speed isn't a strictly defined thing. It is a feeling. It is when you have to do a lot of real-time strategizing. It is how quickly the game as a whole moves relative to the player. Fear has an incredibly sluggish movement speed, and yet the games move quite quickly. I have to think of a game like Titanfall. It was focused on speed, it had some really cool mechanics that could allow for extremely quick travel, and its navigation did require a lot of real-time strategizing. With some thought, you could intelligently traverse the map in a very brief amount of time. The navigation was fast and very rewarding, but the combat was not. Here's the thing, Titanfall was made by former COD developers. At the time, recently exiled by Activision execs from the Cosby suite of their ivory tower, Titanfall de facto adopted many of the design principles from Call of Duty. Things such as loadouts, sprint, human enemies, and yes, ADS. The combat in Titanfall is fairly weak. It's why Titanfall 2, despite still being very good, isn't one of my favorite FPS.
I found a game I was looking for. Vanquish. That was it.
Oh, okay. That's a single player game. Yeah.
Yeah, that game is a very good example of how to do speed. Where even when you're going in slow motion, the game is super, super fast.
Well, I remember Tribes 2 back in the day, where you had your 3 classes of character, and everyone could ski. And skiing was basically a jetpack, but the levels were designed in a certain way after a certain point when people realized they can go faster skiing on certain slopes, or jetpacking on certain slopes. They called it skiing because you were actually traveling faster. So you can actually traverse certain levels within 30 seconds from beginning to end, because you knew how to use your jets and conserve your fuel and hit a certain jump, and it was kind of cool. And that's even with being a heavy or a light. So that's part of the skill. That's sort of like this discovered ability that gamers found, and they added that to the game. So did that add to the speed of the game? Maybe not. And he said it's more of a feeling of doing, like when you play Doom Eternal, it's frantic. Everything's around you. You're spinning around. You're using this weapon. You ran out of ammo. You use another weapon. You get your health back, and you're going to cover, and all this stuff is happening. And that's the nature of Doom Eternal, though. That's the point of the game, is to be this moving object throughout the level. But good for Doom Eternal. That's the kind of game that you want to play. Other games don't have that crazy frenetic energy in it, and that's also fine. So
Also,
he went from saying, the aiming down sights is bad. Oh, look at games are now fast and they give you stuff to do. And it's like, sure. Why are we changing topics?
Quake was fast.
Yeah, Quake was really fast.
George's Rex point summarizes it well. So he doesn't like the dichotomy between moving fast and having to slow down to use ADS. Which is, again, that's such a weird argument to me because you could just use the shotgun at that point.
I'm
Why did this
assuming.
guy write out 20 minutes of text to say something that he could have said in a sentence?
Yeah.
It's like, I never once aimed in Titanfall 1 with the shotgun, or Titanfall 2 for that matter. You just walk up to somebody, aim in their vague direction, and you splatter them like a fucking bug on the windowsill.
Okay, maybe it's because I'm completely exhausted, but I still have no idea what this guy's problem really is.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't said what his problem is besides FOV.
Rambling on about multiple games he likes and doesn't like for whatever reason. Now it's because they're slow. I don't know.
Oh, the public internet was a mistake.
Campaigns. Think of the enemies. They're mostly just dudes. Hit scan dudes. You'd think they'd have some enemy designs that promote more dodging and movement in their, movement-based shooter.
Yes, you can outrun most most enemies shooting at you. You can outrun their bullets.
So he doesn't like Titanfall 2. Is that it? Is that where we're at now?
Hell, in the clip he showed where he was quite shoddily fighting shield guys, he shows that he can't focus on actually outmaneuvering people worth a damn. Way back at the start of the video, he was fighting the shield guys going up the staircase. If he was that good at dodging and weaving, he should have been easily able to outmaneuver and then gun them down. But no, he was struggling with it because he was trying to take them head on.
We're changing topics again. I don't know why, but fine.
So where does ADS come in? ADS as a mechanic means that to shoot accurately, you had to slow down considerably. Yes, the hip fire was still very useful in Titanfall, but that doesn't change the fact that to be as accurate as possible, you need to stand still. In a movement shooter, it was cool that you had all
Take a different gun at that point, you bastard. Just use the shotgun.
Why is this so... Like, why is this a problem for him? He doesn't like the realism factor. He wants everything to be a robotic. I have no concept of balance and recoil. Like, I want everything to be like pixel perfect, and I'm a machine, and blah blah blah. Is that what he wants?
Hell, in the scene that he just showed where he stops himself, same at the robots. You know how most people I've seen deal with those guys in that area? They run around them and then aim down sights as they're behind them for extra damage.
This is like, I don't like the realism of this car simulator because I can upgrade my suspension. Every car should have like the best suspension ever, the best acceleration, the best handling, the best tires. Like, I should have that from the start. Like, why can't I it's like, I don't know. They design it because it's supposed to be realistic like. People like that?
He just wants the he wants the modded
he wants the mod
Mario Kart.
He wants the modded Titanfall 2 where there's no reload delay, there's no recoil when you fire, you have infinite ammo. It's like everything's amazing.
You can no scope Titans from the other side of the map without aiming.
This guy.
these options to traverse the map, but what difference did it make when you still lost to the dude sitting on that building with the Kraber? ADS and
What?
Outrun his aim!
Does he mean a sniper rifle or something? I don't know.
Yes, he's saying...
So it's bad when he has to do it, and it's bad when others succeed with it. Is that it?
I guess.
He's saying that when people can stand on the other side of the map and aim at you and win, that's bad design.
It's called sniping.
So never choosing the sniper class in Battlefield is, you can't play sniper, guys. It's no good.
Which is funny because That's not a unique position. Like, almost every community that has a sniper class hates the sniper and loves the sniper depending on which side they're getting their ass kicked from.
Yeah, depending on the
Like
map.
in real life.
Wow, snipers are hard to fight against because they're far away. Wow, what a novel idea.
Wow, if only you had, I don't know, maybe a giant robot you could call down, and then just gun down the area you saw that flash from.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't run straight at the sniper. Maybe there's a strategy involved there.
Nah, I would run straight at snipers more often than not, just fuck with them.
He would never expect that strategy.
Because snipers have to aim, and aiming is bad. Okay.
Sprint, for good measure, are disempowering. I find it interesting that many games empower you by explicitly negating the effects of these features, by making it so that the features are less of a factor in your gameplay.
What is this? What is this activism speech? You nonsense man.
Is running bad or is sniping bad? Which one? I want to know.
Empowering, disempowering. Fucking hell! You're playing a game. Everybody plays along the same rules.
I don't
Fucking
get it.
Retard.
I don't get what he's trying to say now.
I like Ramirez's take, which is just get good, lol.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know what he's getting at.
So play the game that has the mechanics that you enjoy, and then get good.
I don't like Call of Duty and Battlefield because there are so many different ways you can get fucked. Like Call of Duty and their kill streaks. Like you can just have an AC-130 drop a missile on top of your ass. Or Battlefield where somebody can ram you with a jet once you're having a firefight. That's just not fun to me, so I don't play those games.
Oh, boy.
You just had to pick the worst possible game to talk shit about snipers.
How many games have perks or upgrades like better hipfire accuracy, faster movement while aiming down sights?
Yes, while showing a looter shooter, where the main point is that the gear you equip gives you better stats in various areas that can narrow down your build to one that you like.
Yeah, I think Destiny 2 allows you to have upgrades to each piece of equipment to do stuff like that. I don't know exactly what he's referring to, but I'm quite sure there are options like that.
Reducing not having your HUD obscured by aim down sights. Take a look at Payday 2. There are upgrades to effectively narrow the gap between ADS and hipfire. Negate the feature. There's an upgrade that lets you reload while sprinting, one that lets you sprint in any direction, one that lets you shoot while sprinting. If you get an
Yeah, that's not a clear shooter. That's a fun shooter, if you will.
Yeah, I think Bioshock did this too for upgrades.
Let's let him finish the point because I play a lot of Payday, so I'm very
Yeah,
curious
I'm
where he's
just
going with this.
you can't equate a plain shooter with one that has funky stats that can change. It's like those are different types of games.
Absolutely, but I'm very curious.
And it has nothing to do with his point.
That's what I'm curious about. Is where's he going with this? Why is
It's
he
still-
comparing a PvP game to a PvE game?
And it's still 6 more minutes.
enough upgrades, you might even reach the point where your movement is as good as in any classic shooter. It's an implicit admission that classic shooter movement and aiming were more empowering. That
What?
What is this
No!
empowering bullshit? Fucking kill
Okay,
yourself.
time to double down on my Payday knowledge here. So what he's referring to are several skills based on the idea of the run and gun skill is commonly taken with shotguns in the build where it's based on movement and high damage. But the actual ability of running and gunning is based on a dodge build, which is based on the idea that you can literally dodge bullets. It's not a implicit admission that is empowering. You don't feel like Neo when you have a dodge build.
So-
you feel like a Joker
so-
that's constantly playing the odds.
Games in the 90s where there was no upgrade to movement speed was naturally empowering because the speed was fast enough for him. But
I don't
games with
fucking know.
Well,
mechanics where you can upgrade your speed is not empowering?
no, his point seems to be that games with upgrade systems just seem to be upgrades to get the game to the point where older games already were.
Oh.
He's literally the old man yelling at clouds.
Yeah,
from
he's bitching that the RPG mechanics of modern games are bad when every game has RPG mechanics these days for the sake of progression and feeling better and feeling empowered when you upgrade, which is the point.
Deus Ex had that.
Vladimir Dragunov, maybe you're just bad at the game. I don't know. This guy is bitching about weird stuff.
I don't think he has a grip on reality.
It's very like he's like nitpicking. This is not good because it's slow. You're like, I thought it was a feeling, not an actual mechanic that you were complaining about. But now he's saying, no, it's the mechanic. Now I feel as empowered as I might have been 20 years ago.
Also, something I could never feel in Doom, or Quake for that matter, is the feeling of being a fucking juggernaut. And that's something Payday allows you to if you want that.
Oh,
is
cool.
that you can just become a bullet sponge.
Cool.
It's ridiculous argument.
All right.
That it is an upgrade over your regular movement. Destiny 2 is another such game with similar perks on its weapons. Ones that make you move faster while aiming down sight, or not even needing to aim down sight at all. I got an interesting comment on a previous video, and I want to say that I appreciate all of your comments. This one stood out.
No, he doesn't. His follow-up video is entirely, I was right, you guys are wrong.
Oh, God.
To me regarding Halo Infinite, saying that they managed to make Halo Infinite feel good despite not having ADS. On the contrary, I think it feels good because it does not have ADS.
No kidding.
Interestingly, Destiny gives us quite a solid point of comparison between the two styles. The recent Bungie throwback event saw the addition of several new weapons, including one known as the BXR-55 Battler. Got to wonder what this might be a reference to. Maybe it was, Gex 3D. Okay, no, apparently it was Halo, and I thought this event was really cool because they went above and beyond with the references. They not only recreated the weapons in the visual style of Destiny, but they actually mimicked the gameplay attributes as well. The gun functions similarly to the battle rifle in Halo. What does this actually mean? Its reticle doesn't expand. It remains accurate while moving. Its hipfire is improved and the ADS works similarly to scope in classic Halo. Near instant. And people loved it. It felt so much better to use than any other pulse rifle in the game. Besides the fact that people found it unforgiving with damage output, but that's a Destiny thing. The gun itself felt great. And Destiny is a game about player empowerment.
Oh, I just realized something he hasn't even really emphasized is the fact that he mentioned the actual act of putting the gun to your face is near instant. There's no animation of the actual gun being lifted to your face.
He's
What is
just
this
complaining.
obsession with empowerment?
He's just complaining about a gun that does away with all the details because it's fast, because it does all the things that he wants to do quickly. Which is fair, but then you eliminate the entire concept of having different weapons with different feel, with different function.
I'm starting to think, since he's rambling on so much about feeling empowered bullshit, that it's all just about
okay?
it's not about the gameplay. What?
You were buckering out Discord.
Oh, is it better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, so he's just rambling on about empowerment all the time, and I'm starting to think that what he means is that he feels powerful in the gameplay. It's just about the feeling. It's not about the actual game itself or the gameplay or whatever the game is supposed to be. He just wants a certain feeling in the game and is bitching that certain differently designed games do not give him that.
Yeah,
and they should be that.
It reminds
And
me
that's
of a buddy of
just
mine
insane.
who loved Doom 2. Like, that was his favorite game. when it came out, then it had multiplayer. Like he thought this was the best thing. He probably doesn't care about any other games except for Doom 2. And when he looks at, I'm guessing when he looks at modern games, he's like, well, where's the double barrel shotgun? Where's the chainsaw? Where's this or that? If it doesn't have that, well, it should, because that was the best. And why doesn't it? And you could make all these little arguments like, well, the double barrel shotgun does this, and the chainsaw does that, and this weapon or this gun from this game doesn't do it like that. It's only if only it had this. Be like, it would be like the thing you had 20 years ago, but that's not the point. That's not the point of these mechanics. And everyone will say, well, why do we have variable reticules when we walk? Why does our aim decrease when we move and we shoot from the hip? Why does that mechanic exist? It's like, well, that's what people wanted. So when you find a gun that breaks those conventions and it goes straight to scope, it goes straight to accurate aim without all these changes, it's like, wow, it gets rid of all that stuff. It's like, yeah, you're stripping it away. You're removing the veneer of the idea of being in the world. And I don't know why he's bitching like every gun should, if he starts saying every gun should do this, then we have a problem. Then he's crazy. That you strip away everything that makes game design, like the details, the animations, the color of the gun, like all the graphical elements, it becomes pointless to him.
That's also why I posted the original from TF2, is that the reason the community loves that gun so much is because it's one of the only penis launchers in the entire game. It's like one of the only rocket launchers in the game that has that unique perspective.
Yeah. That
no other gun has. We also got a couple of funny comments in the chat. Do you want to cover Vladimir's?
Sure. I bet the Sniper Elite series is this guy's sleep paralysis demons.
That's fucking great.
Yeah.
Let me see. So we got S4N that goes, sounds like he's just sucky. He just sucks at aiming, gets mad at snipers.
I guess. I don't know. He just doesn't like... Apparently, this gun from Destiny 2 is so amazing because it mimicked Halo a few months ago. It's like, okay, good for the homage there, Destiny. I mean, that doesn't make Destiny a better shooter just because it has one gun.
Tyler has two great comments here. ADS is the patriarchy. Hip fire the glass ceiling. And Ibika says, play a game with swords, dude. This is what I mean is when I talk about how it feels insidious, how they argue, is that when it comes down to it, it's usually because the arguments are like this, where it just sounds ridiculous and people just start making fun of them.
Yeah, I like Halo. Every game should be like Halo. Why doesn't this gun in this game not have the gun like in Halo?
Why does it have an animation where I put the shotgun to my face? Why can't it just zoom in? Like it's a ghost holding up a scope.
It's this weird bias that I don't even know why. All you have to do is say, look at this gun, it's the best. Why can't other games do it? And then we explain to you why, because you're such a moron.
It's just child logic.
Yeah.
There's no sense to it.
Sure, I just think he would do better if he focused his argument rather than saying it's bad everywhere. Exactly. I would love if... I'm actually a proponent of games shouldn't just copy each other for the sake of it. You should find out what works best for your game. So having aimed at sight should be a conscious decision you make.
This is why we have these mechanics in first-person shooters. This is why the RPG genre is so is everywhere. Everyone wants to progress. They want to get better, and they want to see a stat to prove they're better. That's it. It doesn't have to be like upgrade your damage or this or that. That just makes you feel better. It's like, oh wow, I can do that now. Like in Skyrim was all, whatever you do, you get better at. Doesn't matter what discipline, you could do anything. No, there's no class. Here's a skill, get better at it. It's not hard. But not every game has to be Skyrim. All right. Anyway, Halo gun's awesome. We get it. Let's keep going.
A vague concept, but it has a lot to do with how the game feels to play. And the strong hipfire with a classic style scope setup felt good.
Why?
My feelings.
Yeah, I was about to say sorry, I forgot I muted myself, but I'm glad he started to tell us how he feels.
This gun feels so good. Why can't every gun be like it? My
Like,
girlfriend's
that was
the prettiest girl. Why can't every girl be like her? My car is so fat. Why can't every car... Like, come on, dude.
No, I would be fine if that was the argument he started out with. But he started out with the FOV argument.
Yeah, that was weird.
My gun is shoved up into my face. Why is this happening?
Why is there a scope in my peripheral vision? It's like,
Go to a shooting range, man.
how do guns work?
This guy's a mental child.
Okay, we got 3 minutes and a half.
I expect these kind of arguments and the way they're phrased from an 8-year-old, maybe. Maybe 12.
Mass also brings up a good point. Even Doom Eternal has a gun with an optional ATS, the sniper with the precision bolt. Because there are times where it has its uses. Very good point.
I remember in school we used to contemplate the idea of having a sniper rifle and fire, not from the hip, but firing it from your shoulder like you would, because you can't look down the sights because there's a big scope in your way, but you would sort of have like an angle, an animation state where the gun would be at a certain angle, so you could sort of kind of aim down the sight. Then you'd have standard magnification. Then you'd zoom up with your scroll wheel, and it would go like twice and then 3 times, like stuff like that to make it more versatile to the player to use the gun properly.
So like Arma.
I don't remember playing Arma, but I think other games have done like scope magnification for sure. Yeah.
Arma has like 2 aims where you have the right click to actually aim, and then you can hold down the mouse to increase your aim to basically recreate the idea of you focusing really hard on a point.
Yeah, that's what people wanted to have, and we talked about that with even just a pistol or whatever gun you got, to make it feel like if you just spent more time, your aim would get better, as opposed to like the Alpha Protocol method where it's like a dice roll, and the more time you spent, the reticule will slowly get as low as it can get based off your skills, but you'd still have this little ball that your bullets would shoot in certain directions. So it's kind of funny. Anyway,
Vladimir Dragunov made another super chat. Please,
oh no,
my guy, stop throwing money at us.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. You think ADS stole his girl and how much he hates it? Some guy with a gun used ADS and shot his girl. Yeah, that's pretty much. If only he didn't use ADS, my girl would still be breathing. Oh. Anyway. 4 minutes. Or 3 minutes, rather. Yeah, 4 minutes. Oh, jeez.
If you'll remember back to before, many games focus on player empowerment, the power fantasy. Another important feature of player empowerment is competence, making the player feel like they always have a challenge commensurate with their skill.
Power can be completely separate from competence.
He's having it exactly the opposite way around.
He's adding a definition to the power fantasy. I don't know why he's doing that, but
his definition of empowerment is having bonus skill shit stuff.
Yeah, just use make a different point. How about that? Just don't tie it in with whatever you said before, because what you said before didn't make sense.
Yeah. You know what? Because skill is what you have with the mechanics that are present.
Okay, here's Vladimir Dragunov.
In spite of its hindrances.
There are some sniper rifles where the scope doesn't interfere with iron sights. Oh yeah, no, I've seen that in, I think, the Call of Duty games. They have like alternate iron sights where it's on the side and the scope's on the top. So yeah, I've seen that. I've never shot a gun like that. I don't know how that works, but it's cool.
I have. It's basically where you look down the sight of the gun.
Yeah.
I would say it's an emergency tool for if you have a very long weapon or
Yeah.
something like that, and you need it to be in
Medium.
close quarters.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You still want to aim. Like that's the thing. You want to aim with your gun. You don't just like fire. You don't waste bullets. You want to make sure what you hit is going down. It's you
Just
need
as
to
machine
aim.
gunners, just as machine gunners, how many people they actually kill?
Yeah. Well, I've never fired once. I don't know, but
Here's a hint: they don't kill a lot of people. They're a special tool.
spray and pray. Yeah.
I'm starting to think his obsession with empowerment and how it feels is him around the corner admitting that he's shit at the games.
I mean, we saw him deal with basic stationary enemies in the start of the video, so I don't think we have to stretch our imaginations too far.
Yeah. This is why can't every game be like the Halo assault rifle or whatever?
Matt says Dark Souls is a power fantasy because it doesn't require ADS.
Standing still is a great way to survive in Instagit.
And the competence
Because
level.
everybody's aiming ahead of you.
Yeah, you have to be competent because the difficulty level is so high. If you win in anything, you feel like a god. It's like, okay. I play Dark Souls to boost my ego. Sure, okay.
Necessarily means that the player should always be increasing their skill. This is also what allows skill expression. To recap, this is when the game has moments when it pulls back on the throttle to allow the player to demonstrate their improvement in skills. Basically, let you style on them, as the Zoomers would say. Now, as I established earlier, games with ADS segregate.
Is that like the actual Zoomers, or does he mean like the aim people who use the scope?
He's talking about 90s kids. 90s kids said, let us style on these motherfuckers.
Oh, God.
90s kids would wreck him in any game here that he's playing the way he's playing.
Well, if it's
That'd
not Halo,
beat
he'd
the shit
lose,
out of
yeah.
them.
Actually, no, there's no guarantee that he's good at Halo, so we have no idea what the hell is this guy good at.
Well, he's arguing about whether you should be looking where you're going or not, so I don't imagine he's too great at it.
Yeah, he's just going on feeling, how the gun feels. Doesn't mean if you're any good at the game.
Man,
90s kids played Quake, they'll rip him.
just as a reference, I love how the gun feels in Black, the video game for PS2, but I'm awful at the game.
All right.
It's weird.
One more, Vladimir. I don't know why my grandpa was a machine gunner in World War II in Pacific Campaign, and against the Japanese, I doubt he misses many shots.
Alright, so outside of enemies that are literally charging you.
If you have an anti-infantry machine gun, I think you're going to hit who's ever coming at you, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, my point about that was that the machine gun is inherently something that is meant to pin down enemies. You're not meant to be gunning down foes like it's the 18th century against a Zulu.
All right.
Gate movement from aiming. This requires less multitasking and less real-time strategizing. This is good for new players, so they do not get overwhelmed. It's accessible, but it makes for a shallower experience. If you truly want...
Okay, so aiming down sights makes for a shallower experience. Good lord.
So it's easier for new players, which is a good thing, but it's shallow. Okay.
Aiming down sights makes for a shallower experience.
Using the gun the way it's intended is shallow. Like, whatever. But like, whatever, this guy. This is so retarded.
Talking about.
Whatever. I'm tired. Let's just keep going.
Subjectivism is the death of brains.
your game to get the player to improve and later provide opportunities for skill expression, you'll need to challenge them. And multitasking in FPS games is essential to challenge and engage the player. Forcing the player to be aware of their environment and their enemies simultaneously is something that develops player skills. Environmental awareness is a skill present in every first-person shooter, but it is
so is aiming with your sight and figuring out where he's going to land.
He's in full-on video essay word salad mode now.
He's finally made a point, and more importantly, a conclusive point. People that use aim-down sights are not aware of their surroundings.
Depending on the nature of the mechanic, if there's a fadeaway effect where it's blacked out.
But that is a bold claim.
Yeah, all the games he showed us where they aim, you could see the world around you. It just zooms in a bit. Unless he's using a sniper rifle.
Hell, as with Rainbow Six Siege, it's very important and very high skill gap between those that know when to use aim-down sights and when not to use and just spray and pray.
Yeah, like, is he the kind of guy who would argue that FOV has to be always 190 or 220 or whatever the hell in every game, or it's bad? I want to see around me like my eyeballs do. It's like, okay.
I want to look around me at a full 360 degree.
Yeah, I want 360 view on my screen.
He wants to be in a Gundam.
Oh, boy. One more from Vladimir. No one ever give this guy a real gun for his own safety. Yeah.
Don't worry, he's Australian. That's never going to happen.
Legally he wouldn't be able to hold it for more than a second. So.
Discussed to a greater extent in FPS that aren't based around ADS and a sprint as well. Because in those games, you need to know what's around you without even seeing it. You need to create a mental map of the environment.
That's every shooter you retard.
Yeah, and when you get shot, the little reticule turns into the shape or the direction where you got shot, so you could spin in that direction and go find the enemy that shot you.
Hell, he used Payday earlier as a reference point. Payday has a very good soundscape for where you can hear where the enemy is, even if you haven't seen them yet. If there is a cloaker that can one-hit kill you, you will hear it go boop 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 around the corner before he's even there.
And this game mechanic of knowing everything around you would either slow down the game or would turn everything into a bullet sponge because you need the freedom to move, to get shot, to notice, to spin around, to pursue, and then you have all these ammo drops. You have to use bigger and better guns, and it would change the mechanic. It would change the gameplay. There are games out there like that already, so I don't know why he's saying challenging the player is this is the way you do it. It's like this is one of 20 different ways you could possibly do it in an FPS. It's not the only way.
People are pointing out in chat, which is very nice to see, is that he seems to be arguing that aiming down sights means that you don't have to care about what's around you.
I think he's arguing that because of it, it decreases your field of view. Therefore, you can't see what you are in danger of getting killed by, which is fine. But it's like, imagine you didn't have a gun, right? Imagine you were just running around with a melee weapon, and the only way to kill people is with melee. So you go up to the guy, you beat him up, you kill him, but there's a guy behind you, he's about to smack you on the head. It's like, yeah, that's right, because you can only attack at once in one direction. You can't, like, I don't know, Jackie Chan your way around stuff, or Bruce Lee your way around stuff.
You can't just kick backwards and hit somebody in the face.
You can't, like, attack from two directions, like I don't know, with one leg and one foot, or one wrist. Like, you can't just do that. So you eventually have to give up some safety to attack in a certain direction and then move around and find another opponent or whatever. That's pretty much most of the RPGs, most of the FPSs, most of any action-oriented game. You can only do a limited kind of an attack. And then you're back to the hunting mode and defensive mode and seeking out.
Also, he brought up Call of Duty players early on, and now he's making the point that people that are using games without ADS are much more map aware. My guy, Call of Duty has probably one of the most dedicated fan bases when it comes to shooter maps. They can remember every little nook and cranny in Modern Warfare 1 or Black Ops 2.
Right. Same with Quake, same with Tribes 2, same with any popular game with certain maps that people love to play. And they use sniper rifles, they use all kinds of scopes. I've seen scopes on handguns. So, yeah, it's pretty popular to have pros who know a map very well. Okay, well,
Nearly there.
he's making a point, but it's not a very good one. Like, it's not wrong. It's just sort of like, yeah, but this is one of like a dozen different ways to challenge a player and make them get better at the game.
And it only took 17 minutes to get here.
Your field of view is different. Yes, you're right. Thank you.
This is perhaps also why so many environments from classic shooters are so much more memorable, at least
No.
campaign areas.
No.
Multiplayer maps you've played on a billion times don't count. This mental
How does that not count, you motherfucker? You disingenuous cockwaffle?
I'm
I
trying
was
to.
being nice earlier, but now, holy fuck.
How do the levels of Doom become more memorable because of design back in the day and limitations of hardware and software than levels in single player games that you really enjoyed? That had all of these mechanics he's talking about and the ones he doesn't like as well. How? Why?
All the games I like are memorable and great. All the games you like, oh, that's just repetition. That's you having your brain rotted.
He only likes Titanfall 2, only certain parts without certain guns, and Destiny 2 a few months back with one gun. So, and Halo, of course.
cartography, of course, allows for great levels of skill expression. If you've seen a pro in classic shooters, this becomes apparent. Their map knowledge allows insane and inhuman feats. They seem to have a sixth sense, knowing exactly where to go and when, knowing everything that's happening on the map and where everything is. Breezing through the map while not even looking where they're going.
Yes, because they're also arena shooters.
They're also competitive games where you went to LAN parties and won prizes, and that's when the whole I can be a pro player gamer in the 90s started. So yes, if you're competing for money, you're going to get some pros, of course.
Hell, you can make this exact same argument for CSGO.
Or
Have you seen some pro CSGO players? They're insane.
yeah, the same with StarCraft players or MOBA players. It's you put them into competition for prizes. Of course, they're going to go to training camp. They're going to join clubs. It's going to be their main source of income for whatever long period of time in their life. You better be good. It's like if you go to a boxing ring, yeah, he's going to get good. It's like, yeah, he's a prize fighter. He better train. Oh boy.
Now, do I think ADS should be exercised from games entirely? No. I think there's a variety of first-person shooters where aim-down sights is required, tactical and simulation shooters. Somebody will inevitably ask why I didn't bring up realism and tactical shooters in the comments. I want you to admonish that person for not watching the whole video.
No, that's a very good question. Because you are not very coherent in any of your arguments. Or the singular argument.
I don't think he ever disregarded simulation genre. He mentioned it, but he didn't talk about genre like the Halo genre. Is it futuristic guns or simulation guns or even like he brought up Call of Duty for World War II, and you're like, and your point is what? How is that worse or bad or make your arguments better? You have to say this is why this mechanic doesn't work, and then look at all the genres it does and say, well, that doesn't jive well because of this argument or something. Because all he said is, I don't like this. No other games are as good as Halo. Why can't we have Halo? Or why can't all the guns be like Halo guns? That's it. He didn't talk about genre. Oh, simulation, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, he didn't say that.
The games that I play are better than the games you play. Yeah, Ramirez, that's the energy I've been getting the past How long are we
My
going?
taste is better than
18
your
minutes?
taste. Yeah. When I eat a hamburger, I eat it the right way. Like, okay.
Oh yeah, he didn't mention Gears of War at all. Probably because it's third person.
Maybe, I don't know. It has very similar mechanics.
I said in the beginning, ADS is a tactical choice. It makes sense in games that place realism over player empowerment. Games where your shots actually come out of your gun instead of the middle of your head. Sacrificing mobility for accuracy makes sense in a team-based game where you can die.
In any game, it makes sense. Why would you argue in otherwise? Like, that's the...
Is he the kind of guy that argues that Widowmaker from Overwatch being able to aim down sights is bad because the other characters don't aim down sights when they fire?
Some of them don't have guns. Some of them can't zoom in. It's like, okay.
Some are just angry black guys and monkeys.
Some of them create traps. It's like, what? This is silly.
In one hit. It forces you to be slow and methodical. Ultimately, I think games should take a step back and try to justify their...
From being slow and methodical? How slow do you want it to go?
Also, there are specific sights in games that allow you to aim on the run, like the sideways run, or the sideways aim, or 45-degree aim, I think it's called in Payday.
Yeah, does he
They're
want...
specifically made for you to aim whilst you're running.
Does he want like people to get into the turret of a tank in Battlefield? And it's like, well, now we're going as slow as possible, and you're just a turret. You can't do anything else except for shooting. Okay. How about they equip one of the planes in Battlefield with like a bombing option? So you just drop bombs. You can't move. You just press a button, a bomb falls. That's the entire challenge.
Because moving and shooting is really hard.
It's
because
so
you have to decide
difficult.
on when to stop moving.
we gotta slow this. We're going too fast, guys. We gotta slow down and simplify everything.
I would love to see this guy play, I don't know, a flight sim or something like that, or just an arcade flight simulator. It's like, oh, I can't spin around or turn around. That means I have to decide when I want to show my ass to the enemy.
Yeah,
That's too much.
How does this what's stalling? What's a throttle? what's altitude? I don't know what's going on. We gotta slow
what is this
down.
G-force you're talking about?
Oh boy.
Features. Start from square one. Instead of following industry orthodoxy, think, why...
It's not orthodoxy. You think all this mechanics just came out of nowhere? Like this is how every game should now be made? No. It works because people liked it. It made sense. It felt good. It felt good to people who are not you. And they buy these games because you clearly don't like them. I'm sure there's people out there making Doom clones on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and I'm sure you'll love them more. And if that's, the 16-bit era or whatever era he likes, they're still making those kinds of games. They're still out there. Enjoy those.
To be fair, this is like the one time I'll give him this. This is a fallacy I've fallen to, and it's a very common fallacy to fall into, is the argument that people follow trends, therefore they follow trends, and that's why they're successful.
Well, okay, but the people
Because
who
they
do
don't
that,
question it.
the people
They
in
don't.
the game
Okay.
designers and developers who do that, they do it because they like it. They don't make a game going, we're going to make a game that's so popular, even though I hate the genre and all the mechanics. Like, no, you're never going to find a game developer like that. They're going to be, I loved Halo so much, I want to do my own version of that, and whatever, like better story, better music, better mechanics. Like that's how you get people making games. They don't just make games to make money, because it's a very painful, long, tedious process. Never mind the QA process. Just making a game is slow and painful, and it's not good. Like, you can't make a cake that no one's going to eat. Like, oh, I hate this thing. This is so disgusting, but it's going to sell for a lot of money. Like,
That's kind of the argument I was I was making is that it's very easy to argue or try and argue that these people are just following in lockstep with other developers. Instead of saying, instead of being just successful because they copy others, maybe they're successful because people like what they copy.
Yeah, it's a constantly iterative process. You're constantly stealing from everyone else. There's no patent on the first-person genre and all its mechanics. It's software development. You can do whatever you want, and whatever sells is usually fun to play, because that's what games are. If they weren't fun, people wouldn't play them. It's that simple. One more from Vladimir. Wait till he sees bullet drop or having to lead his shots. Yeah, like in sim games, like I think Battlefield does that, where you see the bullets fall if they're longer than a kilometer. I know they did that with the missiles for sure in 1942, the anti-tank missiles. So, yeah, depending on how realistic.
Wait till he sees how different helmets can affect your field of view in Tarkov.
Oh, cool. All right, we have 40 seconds.
Why does this game need this feature? What are our goals? How does this help achieve those goals? Developers should design with intentionality. I believe that when
Intentionality is not a word.
developers start from ground zero and are aware of why they're adding certain features like ADS added just for the sake of it will be less common. When you design a game to empower the player, consider how every feature supports this, and whether certain features like ADS really aid this goal.
Or you could just make a first-person shooter the way you want that you think is fun. See, this is the problem I have with YouTubers like this. It's like they're like, I am the king designer of gaming because I'm a gamer. Yes, a gamer has insight into what makes a game fun and not fun, but this is such a very specific issue. It's such a nitpick, and it's so biased. You cannot take this guy seriously. It's so dumb.
Nobody's going to look at this guy in 10 years and say, yes, the holy grail of game design advice.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. Like, dude, like no one's going to be like, yeah, we should get rid of scoping. We should get rid of scopes entirely. Like, what? Or aiming. Like, what are you talking about? It's a gun game. You have guns. You're like, what are you talking about? All right, let's see if we got any stream memes. Just have some fun here, because that was painful. What we got?
Did he make a point at the end? I think I fell asleep.
No. Oh, we got the examples. If you guys want to go to the stream memes and find the all the wonderful end results that we played on Saturday of what was that game called again? Gartic Phone. It was really fun. It was boring to watch if you were watching the stream, but the last part of every game was just so hilarious because it's you're drawing and then you're describing what someone else drew from the original sentence. It's hilarious. So check them out. They're all in the stream memes there from 2 days ago. I'm not going to go through them. There's so many.
Since we mentioned actual game advice,
all right.
I think it's worth mentioning gentrification for those interested. That's an actual game design advice or a style of game design. That isn't just a nitpick on first-person shooters.
All right. Here's the Copper Owl with some sketches of a gun from his book and a painted Nerf gun with the same colors. Okay. Interesting stuff. Looks like some kick-ass revolver thing going there. And here's, this is it. There you go. Same idea. Good stuff. Okay. And that's it. We have only one from today. Fantastic.
This was torturous. I don't know what memes you could make out of this.
just a bunch of people having fun playing a first-person shooter and laughing at people. That's about it, yeah.
He comes in going, why are you aiming that sight? Stop having fun.
Stop it. Stop
Did he
using
bring up something else besides his my feelings?
He tried to equate the concept of empowerment and challenge the person's skills by not using or by sometimes using. I don't know. It's kind of dumb. I sort of tuned out.
He was arguing at one point that removing aim down sights means that you limit the options that a person has, which means they have to focus on their environment. And focusing on the environment means that they become better players, which is also not really true. You can know your environment is still not aim worth a damn, like we've seen with this guy. He can't aim worth a damn.
Oh, boy. All right, guys. Well, that was just over 2 hours. Not too bad. I like these kinds of videos because it allows me to flex my my game design muscles a bit. But, yeah, that was really bad. That was absolutely atrocious. And he has a follow-up video, which he made, I think, this last month. I'm not going to watch it, but if LOL is correct, it's just him gushing how great he is, which, who cares? So
I mean, I'd probably be misremembering. I can give it a shot later and report back, but I remember watching, like, first 40 or 50 seconds of it, and it was basically him saying, nah, still stuck on the idea that AD is bad.
Yeah, I think I've had enough of him for 1 week or 1 month at least. But thank you for the suggestion. That was fun to cover. Keep them coming. It's been another busy week for me, so if we miss a day or so, don't worry about it. That's just life getting in the way. But we gotta find people to enjoy these videos. I'm glad we had Lal on because he had a lot to say.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thanks, Whisp, for popping in. Take it easy, guys. Have yourself a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Good night.